this is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and welcome to some Heart Talk with Adelai Brown. I'm so excited about today. I am leaving a home inspection for one of my clients. For those of you who do know me, you know that I am a life and business strategist, and one of the ways that I do that is by being a real estate agent. I'm a licensed realtor in South Carolina, and I'm really passionate about being able to help individuals build heart equity via real estate, right? You know, heart equity is personal, relational, when we create personal, relational, and financial wealth through authentic living. I am very passionate about us building heart equity and us growing this heart equity movement, because we put so much emphasis on growing equity financially, right? And our investments and the things that we work towards building our finances. We even understand the concept of sweat equity, when you work hard at something and get a return from the physical labor that you put into this particular venture that you're working on. So heart equity is pretty much you understanding that when you heal your heart, your mind, will, and emotions, then you generate wealth in various areas of your life. What you think and believe about yourself have a huge impact on every area of your life. It does not matter what your degree is. It does not matter what your certifications are. It does not matter where you came from, what your background is. What you think and believe about yourself, your heart towards yourself, impacts everything that you do. And so I, being the heart coach, am very passionate about helping individuals build heart equity, right? And today I want to talk to you a little bit about expectations, because I truly believe that we are often not disappointed by people and what they do. We are more disappointed by the expectations that we had of them that they did not reach or they did not fulfill. So I just want you to think about your life right now and where you are and what you have going on. And I want you to really consider the fact that, you know, you might have some relationships right now. You might have some people that you really love, or you used to be in very close connection or proximity to, and you are no longer closer to them. But why? Ask yourself why. One of the things that I have found is that a lot of times in life we get angry with people because we expect them to be us to us, right? You go into these relationships and you're expecting your husband or wife, your girlfriend or boyfriend, your children, your business partners, your co-workers, your people at church. You are expecting people to handle you the way you handle things. And I just want to let you know that that is not the case. You might think something is normal because it's normal to you. Those are your experiences in life. That's what you came up under. That's how your family did it, or your community did it, or your organization did it, whoever brought you up. But I just need to break this to you. What's normal to you is very abnormal and weird to other people. And when you start getting in relationship with people, and it really doesn't matter the type of relationship, you have to come in it with an understanding that I am different from these people. I operate differently from these people. So the expectations that I have of myself may not align with the expectations they have of me, and vice versa. And what I have found in relationships, we get frustrated because we really expect people to do us to us. And I know, like me personally, in my life and my relationships, a lot of the expectations I have come directly from my life experiences. How my mother and grandparents and my family raised me. There are certain things that I expect. But why do I expect that? Because those were the expectations of the people in my family. So that formed my worldview. That formed what I believe was good and bad, what I believe was true and not true. And so in relationship, I had certain expectations of people because of my life experiences. And what I have had to learn in this journey of doing heart work is that just because you have that expectation of somebody does not mean that's their expectation of themselves, nor does that mean that that's a valid or warranted expectation. A lot of times we want people to tiptoe around us and our triggers. What is a trigger? A trigger is when you react, you have a feeling, you have a physical reaction emotionally, but you can feel it in your body. You can see a change in your attitude when you experience something. A trigger is not always a bad thing, even though it is usually associated with bad things. For example, when I used to see women with their girls with their fathers, I would be triggered. I would be triggered, and it would trigger insecurities that I have been working through because of the lack of connection and relationship with my father. Now, that was years ago. I don't get triggered like I used to when I see women with their fathers, because my dad and I have done a lot of work in our relationship, and I feel differently about my father than I used to feel about him. And because of that, because of the work that I did, now I don't get triggered like I used to when I see women with their dads or little girls with their dad. I would get really sad back in the day when I would see little girls with their dad. I'll go a step deeper. Even in my own marriage, my husband with my oldest daughter, and with both of my daughters, I would be triggered by seeing him interact with them. And it would stir up feelings of envy or jealousy or rejection or doubt or worry, insecurity, because I'm looking at them getting things that I expected, that's the word we're talking about, from my father, and I didn't feel like I got it, right? So those triggers were causing problems in my marriage. I would have an attitude with my husband and my children. I would snap at them about things that really didn't matter. I just would be flipping out over things that really were minute, because I made it about, oh, you didn't pick this up or you didn't do your chores. But really, I was being triggered because my daughter was getting attention from my husband that deep down I wanted from my own father. And that void was still there. And so anytime something reminded me of that void, it would frustrate me. And then to take it a step further, now I'm not only frustrated that I didn't get that from my father, but because of that void from my dad, I had unfair expectations of my husband to show up for me, to validate me, to approve me, to encourage and uplift me in ways that I was looking for him to fill my father's void. And the reason why I'm breaking this down is because I just feel like we talk about topics and people will hear them and they will be interesting and might be something to think about, but I'm using my own personal life and my own personal story to share this with you, because I believe that you could heal your life and you could save yourself a lot of heartache and pain if you would just start being honest about how you're feeling and be honest about the fact that certain things you experience are triggering you. When you go to work, when you hear certain songs, when you see, I remember I used to be triggered by women who had close relationships with their mothers, because I expected that if you have a close relationship with your mother, that means y'all go shopping together, that means that y'all support each other and you sit and you talk on the phone and you can confide in your mother. And I had that expectation of my mother, but I did not feel like I was getting that from her for years. And during that time, we had a very strained and difficult relationship. Like, I love my mother, but I did not like her. I did not like being around her. I did not like spending intimate time with her because it was always so combative. It was always so hard. It was always so difficult. But why was it like that, y'all? It was like that because I had expectations of my mother that were unfair. I had expectations of my mother that I had not expressed to her, but I had the expectations, and I was getting frustrated with her because she was not fulfilling those expectations. And I feel like a lot of us are in situations right now where you could have a better quality relationship if you open up the lines of communication. And we got to start talking about how we feel. We got to stop thinking everybody sees life through the lens that we do. They do not. Your expectations, like I like to tell people, when you're in a relationship with somebody, right? Both of y'all are living in a, let's look at it like you're living in a house. But when you're in relationship with someone, it doesn't matter the type of relationship. Let's look at the relationship like a house. When y'all are living in a house together, you may or may not be in the same room at the same time, even though that is your home that you occupy together. And a lot of times that's how relationships are. So when you're in one part of the house and you're looking out the window, let's say you're in the front of the house and you're looking out the window, you're going to see something different than somebody that's in the back of the house that's looking out the window. And you're in the same relationship location, you're in the same house, but when you're looking out at where your position, where you are in this property, in this community, where your home, your relationship stands, depending on what window you're looking at this relationship from, you're going to see different things. If I'm standing in my own personal house and I'm standing in my front room, as we call it, my living room, that's going to be a completely different vantage point than what I see if I'm in my bathroom, or if I'm in the master bedroom, or if I'm in one of the secondary bedrooms, or if I'm in the washroom. I am looking at something completely different out of the window. And I feel like a lot of us in relationships, you're in the same address with that person you love, your coworker, your business partner, your husband, your wife, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your child. Your relationship is in a certain location, but what you're looking at, what you're seeing out the window of this relationship is different depending on what room you're in, depending on what stage you're in your development, right? And you have to be clear on what your expectations are, one. And then the other thing you have to do is you have to learn to be able to observe and engage and weigh out your expectations, right? When I first started doing my heart work and going to therapy and confronting all of the trauma that I was avoiding by overachieving, I was avoiding all the pain by trying to get degrees, trying to buy houses, trying to move my way up the corporate ladder, all because it hurt so bad that I did not have a good relationship with my parents. It hurt so bad that I had low self-esteem and didn't think I was worthy of the life that I was trying to live. My expectations were in other people making me feel better. I truly felt like my husband's job was to make me happy. I truly felt like my parents owed me because of the strained relationship that I had growing up with them. Like, those were my expectations. I felt like they owed me. I felt like they were the reason why I felt so down and so depressed and so lonely and so rejected. And even though I went through those things in my past, I had to do my hard work and realize my parents were not the blame for me continuing to feel this way. I am the blame because I am now choosing to feel this way, because I'm expecting them to come in and save me. I'm expecting them to apologize. I'm expecting them to make right all of the wrongs. And let me tell you something. You may never get an apology from your parents. You may never get an apology from your husband or wife or your ex-husband or your ex-wife. But that's still not a justification for you not to do better. You have to learn where to place your expectations. And the problem is, you've been expecting people to do things that you're supposed to do. You're the one that feel insecure. You're the one that feel like you were left back and you were rejected. You got to be honest about that. Nobody's coming to save you. If you a believer like I am, Jesus already died to save you. But you have to take advantage of the grace that he has given you. And you got to work out your salvation through fear and trembling. You got to start confronting the things that you were running from. You can't keep putting sugar on sugar honey iced tea. You got to start acknowledging things for what they are. And when you start doing that, you will be able to curb your expectations. You'll be able to start to tell yourself the truth about what's really going on. Like, I used to have high expectations from people around me. I don't anymore. I expect people to be who they're supposed to be. And when I get frustrated with that, I have to remind myself, you only frustrated because you were expecting you from them, and they are not you. We have to get ourselves to a place where we're willing to tell ourselves the truth. You got to start having these difficult conversations. If you're upset with somebody, if you feel left out or you feel rejected, you got to go to God about that. You got to pray. You got to meditate. You got to start cutting people out your life that just suck away from you. You got to stop putting people around you that feed into who you used to be. It's uncomfortable when you start leveling up. You can't be the sharpest knife in your drawer. If you are, you're in the wrong drawer. You gotta be willing to get challenged. You have to be willing to reset your expectations. You want people to coddle your feelings. You want people to make you feel better about yourself. That's your job. That's your job. That's not for everybody else. You got to get to the bottom of why you act the way you act. Why do you have that bad attitude? Why do you have that addiction to porn? Why can you not stop spending money? Why can't you get out of debt? Why can't you stop getting high? Why can't you stop drinking? Why do you overwork yourself the way that you do and justify it? You got to start telling yourself the truth. We all have issues that we are working through. And we have to continue to work through them. That's why I am committed to being here and doing this work. That's why I write the blog. That's why I'm doing the videos. That's why I'm having the conversations. That's why I'm a realtor. That's why I do business coaching and heart coaching, because I understand the call to empower. And I understand that you might be sitting on the sideline waiting for somebody to tell you to get in the game. That's an expectation that you got to change. You are what you've been looking for. But see, you are justifying playing small because you put expectations in somebody else that you needed to put in yourself. You grown now. Your parents might have mishandled you as a child, but now it's time for you to take care of the little child that's inside of you and move forward. You can't keep making excuses why you fell short because this happened in high school, but you're 45 now. You've been out of high school for almost 30 years. It's time to make an adjustment. If all your highlights in your life came 20 years ago, you have placed your expectations in something that's outdated, and it's time for you to make an adjustment. It's time for you to do something new. You can't keep putting new wine in old wineskins and then wondering why you feel like you're wasting. You're wasting time. You're wasting energy. You are. You're stuck in a twilight zone. It's time for you to wake up. I'm telling y'all. Like you can't be sitting out here and then you expecting other people to put more effort in than you are because you don't want to get hurt. Vulnerability is the name of the game. Vulnerability is a superpower. It's definitely mine. And you think being vulnerable make you weak. No, being vulnerable actually fortifies you so that you can expose the weakness that's in your foundation and you can work on that breach. When you present yourself a certain way, and that's all it is a presentation, you don't have anything to stand on. And trust me, when the winds and the waves start coming in on you, Read it. It's in Matthew, I think it's in Matthew chapter 7 or Matthew chapter 8. You got to build your house on a strong foundation. I know everybody around you, it just seemed like even right now, it's like growth is happening every place. All the cities, all the rural places, everybody's seeing new homes being built. But let me tell you something, all those homes aren't being built properly. And see, a lot of people will compromise the foundation because they so focused on the granite countertops, and they so focused on the light fixtures and the colors and the paint and all that stuff is good. But if you don't have a solid foundation, let me tell you something. If you ever read the stories of the Three Little Pigs, you got to build your house from bricks. You got to build your house from the cornerstone, from the chief cornerstone. That's where you got to build your house. If you're not building your house on that, it's going to fall. If your expectations ain't in Christ, you're going to be disappointed. Let me tell y'all something. I'm going through something in my life right now, and it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because I am having to confront myself. Forget confronting other people. I got to confront myself. And one of the things that I have realized is that it's not so much that I'm doing something wrong. I have placed expectations in people and circumstances that can only be set in God and me, the God that is in me. And I realized for me to embrace the life that I've been dreaming of and I've been speaking of, it takes integrity to say, you know what, this is on me. I apologize. You know, I remember when I had unfair expectations on my children, right? Especially my oldest. My oldest, I had real unfair expectations on her. And a lot of that had to do with the insecurities I had just surrounding her coming into this world. Like, I got pregnant at 17 years old. I was in like the worst space with my mother and my father. I was already out living on my own. When I got pregnant with my daughter, I wasn't like sneaking nobody in my mama's house. I was already living out on my own with my best friend and her sister at the time. Like, we were out here. Like how they say, we were really out here. I mean, nobody made sure I got to school. Like, we made sure that. We made sure we took our clothes to the laundromat. We cooked dinner. I mean, don't get me wrong. We had family and friends that supported us, but we had to grow up fast. And I had a chip on my shoulder for that. And for years, I had expectations of my parents. They owed me. I felt like they needed to make up for what they did to me or did not do. I really, really, really had that expectation of them. And I didn't really tell them that. But my expectations, my interactions with them look like that, right? And the more I think about building heart equity and what that looks like, you know, personal, relational, financial wealth through authentic living. You know, my relationship with my oldest child, it really is the foundation of me, like, having to get it together and realizing, like, look, those your expectations. That's unfair for you to put that on other people. If you want to be legalistic and you want to be religious and be weighing people down with all these unfair expectations, you do that to yourself, but don't do that to everybody else. And I had to learn that the hard way. Being a mother, I did not want my child and I to go through what my mother and I went through. My mom is one of my best friends. I can tell you that on this day. And it's powerful because my birthday is in 4 days. And I'll be 41 years old. And I can honestly say that I never thought my mom and I would be as close as we are right now, would have the relationship that we have right now. But none of that did not come from anything other than doing our work individually, and it brought us back together. But it also came from me surrendering my expectations of my mother. And I had to do that because, you know, I started to empathize with her. I had very unfair expectations of my mother because I felt like she owed me. I felt like she owed me for all of the things. I felt like she owed me for all of the things, right? I just felt like she owed me. My daddy wasn't there. She went through sickness and illness that caused a lot of heartache and stress on me. And I just wanted to blame everybody for me feeling sad and me being down and me being depressed and me feeling rejected and me feeling abandoned. And though they may have contributed to that, however, they were not the reason for it. How you feel is a choice. You're going to have to make a decision about that. And a lot of people don't like to hear that. So what I realized was I was blaming my mother. But as my oldest child started getting into her teenage years and her adolescent and teenage years, I realized I had to do something different if I wanted to have a closer relationship with my child, especially if I wanted us to not follow the pattern that my mother and I were in at the time. Because my mother and I were not in a very good space when I came to this realization. And so I had to make up in my mind that I was going to readjust my expectations of my child, of my mother, of myself, of my husband. And it really started to trickle into every area of my life. But it wasn't until I got control of my expectations that my life started to change. See, what happens is a lot of times we don't want to be accountable. We want people to be accountable to us, but we don't want people to hold us accountable for what we're doing and how we're showing up. And what happened was I realized that the very same things that I did not like that my mother was doing to me, I was doing to my child. And I was doing it from a very what's the word I'm looking for? I was doing that from a very limited vantage point because I was only seeing life from what I had been through and my perspectives. So it's like I feel justified. Like I talk to my child with an attitude. And I grew up around mothers doing that. But what I realized is I didn't like when my daughter talked back to me with that tone. I called her rude. But I was talking to her with that tone. So she was only giving me back what I was giving to her. I'm still talking about expectations, right? I was very passive aggressive, right? I wouldn't say what I meant. I would make little sarcastic comments to my child. But I could not stand when my mother did that to me. But I was doing it. All of this ties into expectations. And somebody needs to tell you, a lot of what you're going through in your life right now, a lot of the heartache you're experiencing is because you don't realize that people are responding, they're reacting to you. All you see is what they're doing to you. You don't realize how you're showing up to them. And you need to start to pay attention to that. That's what emotional intelligence is. Being aware of your surroundings and how you're showing up and how you're impacting it. How you can impact it and how you're already impacting it. All of that is a part of emotional awareness and intelligence. And let me tell you something. You can get all the academics you want. You can get all the degrees until you can go to 110 Fahrenheit and Celsius. But let me tell you, until you master your heart, until you learn how to deal with people, until you learn how to talk to people, until you learn how to pick up on nonverbal communication, if you don't learn how to check your expectations, your life is going to be miserable, just like mine was. I feel like I'm in a wonderful space with my mother and with my daughter right now. You know why? Because I feel like I have my expectations in place. I'm not expecting things from them that I need to be doing, okay? And if I do have an expectation of them, I will express it so that we can discuss it, so that we can all be on the same page with these expectations. Enough of this expecting people to read your mind, especially you women out there. Y'all really expect these men to read your minds? That's ridiculous. Nobody out here doing that. And you making yourself more frustrated in the process. Trust me, I know. So let's start to take some time. Let's think of some action steps. Let me give you some work to do, right? This is what I need you to do. I need you to sit down with a sheet of paper and write down all the expectations you have that aren't being met. All your little frustrations, go ahead and write them down. Who are you expecting these things from? What are you expecting from them? And why are you expecting it? That's all I want you to do. Get a list and write down who are you expecting from? What are you expecting and why? And just sit on that and meditate on that and see if you start to notice a pattern. Because let me tell you something. If you don't master your heart, you will never master your life. You out here trying to do all these other things. But until you master your heart, you're never going to master your life. It is time for you to get your heart in check. And how do we do that? Let's start getting a handle of our expectations. Love y'all. Talk to you next time. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, signing out.